Alright, what's good, guys? It's your boy Brad coming at you at the RPO BMX shop here in windy northeastern PA. It is quite a windy Monday, February 17th morning if you guys are catching this on release day, but if not, hope that you're having a good afternoon or a good evening. And I know I was going to do the comparison between the King Crosscut, which is the video I just did, and something kind of on the opposite side, which would be something like the BSD Sureshot. And I figure I'm going to upload two separate because right now it's taking forever to upload. So I'm going to cut to the bike check and try to keep the videos quick and short and just maybe pump out a few more for you guys, for those of you that only have time to check a 10-minute video out, and then I'll just keep them continuing. So this is the BSD Sureshot frame. It is a much more neutral geometrical frame, which means it's designed mainly for fast riding, park style, trail style riding. The frame comes in at 5 pounds. This is a 20.7 top tube. It has a 13.4 to 13.9 chainstay. And as you can see, I have it set just at the end of the dropouts. Not really kind of hanging over at all. That doesn't really make me comfortable, but I know that you can run those axles pretty far out. Right now, I'd say I have it about 13.7. And I'm pretty comfortable with that, especially if I'm hitting like a bowl in the park or trail riding, which, like I said, I haven't done for a little bit, but just kind of wanted to give comparison and contrast to something like the Crosscut, which is a much more street responsive style of frame versus this one. And let me just give you the geometry of this real quick. It has a 74.75 degree head tube. So it's somewhat in between the trail style of 74, 74.5 and what's becoming more common in street, which would be a 75.5 degree head tube, which would be a more straight up and down head tube to increase responsiveness. This one is actually more laid back. So the lower in the degree you get, the more laid back it is. If it comes up like a Doomsayer, which I believe is like 76 something, that one's going to be much more straight up and down than this one. Okay, let's see what else. It has a 9-inch standover and an 11.5 inch bottom bracket height. I know most street frames are right around 11.6, 11.65, and I'm guessing those tiny little, parts of an inch or millimeter, I gotta find out. I think that's for inches. They're swapping all over the place with this millimeter and inches stuff, so we gotta kind of figure that out. So maybe I'll do a video on that sometime. But I believe the bottom bracket height is done in inches. It's 11.5, which is a lower bottom bracket height. Just like with a car, if you lower it a little bit, it becomes a little more stable, sticks to the ground a little bit better, which is what this is for. All right, and we got the double gussets here, and this is a very nice frame. If you know who Curly Main is, shout out to Curly. This is the frame that he chooses to ride from BSD, and guy, he shreds on the street and transition, runs 2 pegs, I believe, and just has a lot of style. So yeah, shout out to Curly. Check out his Instagram page or go to BSD. I'm sure you'll see him on there, and yeah, cool style of riding. But let's get into the parts list here. This build, first off, weighs 24.9 pounds. So with the whole brake setup and everything, 24.9 pounds, great weight for me. I have no problem with that. I think that's just perfect. I don't like to go too much lighter, but I would say you could go anywhere from 22 to 25 depending on your size. About 5'8" and 3/4, weighing about 160 right now, but I can tend to go up, so this is perfect for me. Handlebars, grips, talked about these grips before. I think I've talked about these bars before as well. I don't know if I've used the 8.7s though. So these are the Travis Hughes Odyssey grips, very soft grips, with the Odyssey par ends here. The bars are the Bicycle Union Motorcade bars in 8.7-inch rise and a 29-inch width, I believe. I gotta double check the width. I'm pretty sure it's 29 or 29 and a half. But I don't cut them down or anything. I think your bars, what they say is your shoulder width with your arms straight out, put your hand on the bars, and that's where it would be. So these bars are, perfect, and the wider you go, the more control I believe you will have. So I don't find a need to cut these bars down. I'm not doing bar spins or anything with them. So good length. And they have an 11-degree back sweep. Have to check on the up sweep, but I know they're designed by United and Bicycle Union are one and the same company, kind of like Stranger with ISM, and the guys at Bicycle Union mostly design the transition and trail style parts for United. So yeah, these are the Bicycle Union Motorcade bars. I'm sure you guys have seen this pad before, Bicycle Union pad. So yeah, shout out United, make some awesome parts. I'll get into the brake setup after that because that's by United as well. But second, I want to move on to two parts that are really cool on this bike and that I found matching, and one is the 52mm reach front load stem by Delusion Bikes, and Delusion Bikes is no longer around at the moment. I know the guy that made both the stem and the 25 tooth Delusion sprocket with the 22mm bore in it. These are both CNC'd in Quakertown, Pennsylvania. Shout out PA. And with 6061 T6 aluminum. As you can see, it has some really nice cutouts. And when I got them from him, guy's pretty big that makes them. And he said he's ridden these stems forever and has never had an issue, and I don't believe he would either. This one is powder coated in a bronze copper, which I think is really cool, kind of matches with the chain here. So yeah, 52mm, a little longer, a little more stable. The stack height remains a little bit lower. It doesn't come up quite as high on my waist. I tend to talk about that. As you can see, this is a much lower build. Consider a Cadillac and consider the crosscut a Wrangler. Okay, next, forks. These are the Radio Nemesis forks. I have nothing bad to say about these forks. They look very nice. They are a welded fork with a 25mm offset, which isn't so much for trails. You see a lot of trail guys running the 33mm pitchforks or the 32mm offset Odyssey forks, but I think 25mm is definitely stable enough, especially at the park. So if you want to throw pegs on these, the Nemesis forks by Radio are part of their Nemesis line, which is a street line, and Radio is a company under the umbrella of We the People, Eclat, Salt, and I believe it's We Make Things is the name of the distribution company, but they make good parts. And for the headset here, we also have the Bicycle Union headset. You can't really see it, but it does say Bicycle Union underneath there, which is pretty cool. All right, moving on to the seat. This is the tall order railed seat. That is what it is called, the railed seat, because it is railed. I like the old school look to it. And we have a extra long Colt railed seat post, which is also called the railed post. And it gives you kind of a few measurements in here. You can, what I like about having seat guts, that's what these are called here, seat guts, for those of you guys that only know pivotals, is that you can kind of slide the seat back and forth, especially if it's long like this. As you can see, there's some writing. I don't know if there's writing on that side. No, the writing's on the other side, but I'll flip it eventually. But yeah, there's like a little ruler over here. So if you want to make sure you line the seat up right in the middle, it's fine. And I really like this seat. Now that my Mutiny Village is gone, and I was running the Tyson Penny seat on that one that kind of looked like the top of a pair of loafers, or not loafers, but dress shoes. I really liked it. This is very similar shape. It has the leather on top, and then on the side it has Kevlar for some pinching your seats if you need. And this is, again, it's made by Tall Order with a little Tall Order embroidery right there. Moving on. Hope you guys can hear me. The brakes. Let's do the brakes real quick. We have a Shadow Sano brake lever. I just adjusted them today. Brake lever works good. It has a hinged connection here. Not a huge fan of the brakes that slide over, because then you get once you put the grips on, I know you're not taking the brakes on and off very often, but as a bike shop, I'm often, rearranging different builds for people, and it's really a pain to swap brake levers out when they don't have a hinge here. So yeah, that makes this a lot nicer. It's not on the bend, so I don't have to worry about it, but you want to be careful putting your brake lever on if your bars are too short, because the grips are a lot longer today, so they tend to push the lever in. I remember when I got my first set of brakes to put on when I got back into riding, Odyssey had just come out with the Springfield brake levers, and as soon as I tightened it down, it just snapped, because it was on the hinge. It was on the bend, and it was hinged, but the metal isn't very strong, which is okay because it's like a $40 brake set. But I wasn't careful, and I didn't have that knowledge at the time, so I broke it. Had to buy a new one. Alright, so that is connected to this is a linear cable. I'm not sure exactly which linear cable. I think it says Jaguar on it. The linear cable is guided right through here by a Larry the Cable Guide. Shout out to my boy Jay, Flashkins at Instagram.com. Carrying these now. So hit me up if you're interested. I'll ship one out to you right away. I think I know what they are. They're $20 shipped, and I could have it out for you tomorrow if it's a weekday. But yeah, he has some newer ones where he put some nice black finish on them. This was one of the original prototypes, and they're made with pewter. Pewter is, you would recognize pewter as like the big mugs, like the old school mugs, like people used to drink beer out of and stuff that you see like in the Hogwarts and Harry the Potter movies. But pewter is a soft metal. It's a malleable metal. So when you put your straight cable through over time, a lot of times when you use a zip tie or something, it's going to crack the cable over time, which is, if you saw Clint Reynolds' bike check, he ties a little shoelace around here. But the fact that this is pewter, it will it's not that soft that it's going to break the metal, but the metal is soft enough that it's not going to break through the linear cable. So I thought that was a really cool aspect of that. And in order to run one of these, you do need gyro tabs, which are on the Sureshot frame, luckily. And unluckily, it is a brake mounts that are on the seat stays. I'm a fan of brake mounts that are on the chain stays. However, in a case of a bike like this that you ride street and park with, having the brake mounts on the seat stays is much more functional. We are running a set of the Bicycle Union claw brakes. I might have to show you these guys at some other time. I've talked about them before. They're really nice. Just had them set up. They're CNC'd, and they have like super slim profile to them, as you can see. And then they have the Bicycle Union graphic over here. Some really tough springs. And I have an Odyssey cable hanger. And going backwards again, a Versus Me brake adjuster here in brass. Shout out to my boy Makoto at Versus Me. Just got a bunch of his stuff in. And speaking of, I will be doing a small parts edit on all those parts that just came in, if you guys are interested in them or saw them on the Instagram. So yeah, this is the basic brake cable adjuster. He makes them in titanium as well, and another one, it has like a little dice on it, which looks really cool for as small as they are, and they work great. As well as the hammers on the hanger cable are also round, so they go into these very pretty nicely. I don't know if the round is better or not, but so far I kind of like it. I'll show you what I'm talking about up close at the end. And I have some Jaguar brake pads on here. The pads that come with these brakes have red on them, and they do work good, but I like the look of this better with the silver. So, all right, chatting too much about this, but brake setup, amazing. And if these are great brakes to run on the chainstay, because they do have such a low profile. You can run a 25 tooth sprocket and not have any issue. I already flipped the bike, so we'll talk about the pedals and the cranks. The reason pedals are a little dusty. These are the E-Claw Surge pedals. I had them on the Mutiny Village frame. I decided to throw them on here. These are not the XL version. These are just the original E-Claw Surge. The XL are bigger. I don't have that big of a foot. I don't think I need them, so I would guess if I'd buy these again, I would probably buy the same size with a 9.5. But if you have a shoe size that's 10, or you like to have a nice big platform, they also make this pedal in an XL size. They just came out with. And these pedals are connected to the E-Claw Spire cranks. This is not a normal color of the Spire cranks. These actually originally came in raw. Shout out to my boy Ryan in New England. We'll say New England. We're not going to get too specific. But I was going to put an E-Claw symbol sticker here and then paint over it and then peel it off. And then after finished painting, it ended up looking really nice. It almost looks like it has the E-Claw symbol embossed on it. So I'll show you guys that. Hopefully you can see that up close. And I'm going to flip it around now. Bottom bracket, I believe, is just the basic 22 millimeter bottom bracket with alloy dust cups on one side. And on this side, I just use spacers. I don't put the dust cap on. And the reason I don't put that dust cap on is because with chainstay alignment, it's very important. I think it's very important, especially with if you have wheels that have wide cone nuts, or hubs that have wide cone nuts, which bring the chain in further. And then what happens when you put that dust cap on is it pushes your sprocket out and your chain ends up going at an angle. And over time, it wears down the hub drivers. That's why they resell hub drivers. It wears down the teeth, and it wears down the teeth of your sprocket. So pay attention to chain alignment. I think it's very important. And the best way I was taught to check it, I flip the bike upside down and I look at it from the back here just to see how the alignment is and if it's direct. And this, as you can see, this is without any spacers, and I still have a little bit of space before the S-bend in the chainstay. So, yep, perfect. Not hitting the chainstay, still able to hold a 2.4 tire, and yeah, works great. So, chainstay alignment. Focus on, think about it. A lot of guys forget about it. You see all these bike build videos, and these guys throw the entire spacers and the whole bottom bracket on. They don't talk to you about it. I know Larry Alvarado did in Stacked. I like watching his part reviews for Stacked BMX, and he often talks about why Odyssey does not have more than one dust cap, because you just really don't need it with sealed bearings. Okay, I already was telling you guys about the Delusion 25 tooth sprocket, and that is in black with a little bit of gold trimming where it says Delusion Bikes. I have a KMC MX heavy duty chain. It's in brass colorway. It's kind of faded, and I do have a Master Link here. I'm not a fan of Master Links, but for the chain length for this, I didn't want to use a half link chain, and I really like the length of it. So if it was any tighter, it just feels really slammed. So I just like to have a little bit of looseness in my chain. Not much, especially not on something I'm riding at the park, but just a little bit. And it required a master link, which was kind of like a half link. So that's why there's a master link. I'll keep you guys updated on whether that's good or bad, or if it causes me any issues. But if you're using a master link and your chain is not aligned, you have a much greater chance of popping that chain when you put a lot of force to it or are going up a hill, which just, it's not fun. It sucks popping a chain, man. Your knee goes smashing into something metal. You probably are gonna hit your head on like the brake lever and then end up on the ground. It's just no fun. It's like blowing up a tire in your ear. So yeah, we'll just say chain alignment will prevent that, and master links, you can use them, but personally, not a huge fan of that. Okay, we have investment cast dropouts here and chain tensioners, as you can see. And the wheel set. Let's talk about wheel sets for a minute. One of the reasons bikes are very expensive is because of the wheel sets. This one here is a set of the G Sport rollaway hubs.